okukiza mu lulimi lwaffe luno olwa buliddo n'okugema ebintu byonna ebikoleibwa mu iwanga okuli ebyetukoze byetufulumya taku ne services wadigaita wadita mu sente omuwendo gwofuna ebintu ebikolebwa over a period of time oba okumala omwaka nga mulamba wano mu igwanga ng'okoze services n'ebikolebwa byonna wabigaita wedeni wafuna GDP. GDP eno gyebakozesa okubona oba ensi erikula ebyenfuna byensi birikula oba birikwika wansi usually batera kugibala oluvannyuma lwa mwaka mulamba. So GDP ya Uganda bwetwogera eri mu buwumbi bwa $6 n'obukutukutu nga 28. Yes, buwumbi bwa $6 edo sente kamala ino era ng'ejjenga ekula of course mpola ejjenga ekula. Awo oli kubona President Museveni amaze okuba nga atuuka mu bitundu ebyekololo era nga tuli kwogera ali kusayininga oyo oli kubona ndibona Speaker wa Parliament Right Honorable Anet Among Magogo awala n'omumyuka we Right Honorable Thomas Tayebwa niba Commissioner ba Parliament ab'endawulo basobole okuba nga bamuwerekera ku kubona nga asayininga mu kitabo okulaga nti atuuse amaze okuba nga atuuka ekololo eyo band eri combine mulimu aba police mulimu abamagye ga UPDF era mu abamu niba naife abamakomera n'abali kubanga baniriza nenemba edo ngabo oli kubona awo Speaker alijja kubanga ate conveninga olukiikolo nga kololo alangirira nti buti Parliament weri kutyama twabategeza nti Parliament tikiba kizimbe Parliament n'abantu so onaona ebatyama kasa Speaker alangirira nti buti Parliament ya Uganda wano weri kutyama awo abafuzi idugira nti era mwana omwaka gwa Parliament ene 10 oguli kusembayo era nga tunatukira omwaka ogwidda tulida kuba mu Parliament ya 12 so ngabo oli kubona awo Speaker ajja kubanga conveninga obanga ayatukiriza nti buti kololo Parliament ya Uganda weri kutyama then emikolo gibenga gitandika era bwe tunabatumaliriza okubanga tuwuliriza ebyeyo ndakwira kabiri nkumenyeremenyeremu biki ebyo bikulu ebinabanga byogeirwaku olunaku olwaleero President Museveni nga amaze okuba nga atuuka era TV dakuba kwogera kungi olunamala Speaker bwana amaze okwadressing oba okwogeraku eri abantu then ndowooza Minister wa Finance aida kwida abenga asoma embalirira then n'abatuviiraawo abakulu mu byokwerinda oli babona baliwo ino bona mu biti byabwe byendawulo era nga babaawo kubanga bawuliza budget kubanga bona bagemaku education security etwala obuse oba trillion 7 mweno budget trillion 7 n'ekitundu kusobola kubanga atebemerezaawo security and governance so omwo mulimu ebintu kamaala mulimu okugula ebyokulwanisa okulabirira abanaifa ab'ebyokwerinda okubanga ate babazimbirawe basula n'ebindi ebiringa ebyo so biri mu sente ndo kale kiba kikulu ino bona abaawo so tusobola tujja okuba nga tambula olunaku olwaleero nga bwoli kubona tuli kwemba nemba olwemba olwewanga olwa East Africa then tusobola okuba nga ate tutandika n'emikolo egy'okusoma budget ey'olunaku olwaleero nga bwe mutegeezezza bwe tunaba ketumaliriza era ndakwira wano mbenga mu Dutch Community nkulu bikira mubanga nkumenyamenamu ebikulu ebinaba kebiviire eyo ninze Torach Nicholas otava ku Baba TV tutyobe tuli kutambula olunaku olwa leero so sigala nga oli ku mikutu gyaife osobola okutaayo endowoozayo kikyolowooza ku budget yolwa leero jja ku Facebook jja ku YouTube kuba tuliyo live tuli kutusaaku oteyo endowoozayo tukobere kikyobona wa government weyanditaire eisira eryamaani era na sente emeka dayandibaireetaayo okusobola okubanga ekulaakulanya yindukira nti budget ey'omulundi guno President Museveni mu kwogera kwe ku State of the Nation address yategeeza ewanga nti omukuzi guno bali kwendeisira kulita ku kuzimba economy oba byanfuna bya Uganda nga babita mu kwongera productivity oba ebyo byetufulumya mu iwanga kusobola okubanga ate byeyongera obungi oba oli awo tubitunde ku kuluya yategeeza n'obudde obwenda wa Uganda bumaze okubanga bungi bwigulwawo ate ngera bakakola kwigulawo obundi tusobola okutunda ebikolebwa wano ng'amaggi amata n'ebindi ebiringa ebyo sukaali bwito n'ebindi so yakubiriza bannayuganda okweyongera okuba nga bayinikiza okuba nga bafulumya ebyo tusobole okuba nga tubitwala. So katuje ekololo speaker abenga ate atutwala nga tujja maiso speaker ali kwogera ali conveninga olukikololo tusobole okufuuka parliament eyewanga. Otava ku Baba TV sigalaku tukutuse ku ebiri ekololo.
Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness have appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of humanity, we beseech you to look upon with your abundant favor these your servants, whom you've been pleased to call to the performance of such important trusts in this land. Let your blessing descend upon them here assembled, and grant that they may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under that deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory and to advance the good of those whose interests you have committed to that church. Amen.
Amen. Item number 3. Proclamation by the Right Honourable Speaker of the Parliament of Uganda.
Whereas Article 101, Sub-Article 2 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda states that His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, may, in consultation with the Speaker, address Parliament from time to time on any matter of national importance. Aware that His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, has, in accordance to Article 102, Sub-Article 2, indicated to the Speaker of Parliament his intention to address Parliament and the nation on the national budget for the financial year 2025-2026. Now, therefore, in accordance with the Rule 18, Sub-Rule 1, of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament, I hereby proclaim that Parliament shall sit at Kololo Ceremonial Grounds on Thursday, 12th, 2025 at 14 hours to receive the address of His Excellency the President on the national budget for financial year 2025-2026, and the Kololo Ceremonial Grounds to be the precincts of Parliament for the above mentioned purpose, given under my hand at Parliament House, Kampala, this 12th day of June 2025, signed by Anita Among, Speaker of Parliament.
Item number 4, communication from the Chair.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, accompanied by the First Lady, Mama Janet Kataha Museveni, who also doubles to be the Minister of Education and Sports, Her Excellency, the Vice President, retired Major Alupo Jessica Epel, His Lordship, the Honorable Chief Justice, Honorable Chigamoy Alphonse Owinidolo, the Right Honorable Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Right Honorable Thomas Tayebwa, the Right Honorable Prime Minister and Leader of Government Business, together with your deputies, the Right Honorable Leader of Opposition in Parliament, Honorable Joel Senyonyi, the Cabinet Ministers and Ministers of State, Your Excellency, the Commissioners, Ambassadors and members of the Diplomatic Corps, Honorable Members of Parliament of Uganda and the East African Legislative Assembly, the Vice Chairman of the National Resistance Party, Alhaj Moses Chigongo, members of the Central Executive Committee of NRM Party, the Secretary General of the National Resistance Movement, Right Honorable Richard Trodong, the former national leaders present, traditional and cultural leaders present, the religious leaders who are present here, the Inspector General of Government, IG, Honorable Betty Olive Namisango Kamia, the Chairperson of the Constitutional Commissions, the Head of Public Service and Secretary to Cabinet, Madame Lucy Nachove, the Auditor General, Mr. Akol Edward, members of the Constitutional Commission, permanent secretaries present, the Chief of Defense Forces, General Muhosi, the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Baz Biakagaba, the Commissioner General of Prisons, Dr. Canon Johnson, the Governor of Bank of Uganda, Dr. Tinyego, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to the second sitting of the 5th session of 11th Parliament. You may recall that last week on 5th June 2025, Parliament hosted His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, at the official state opening of the 5th session of 11th Parliament, during which His Excellency delivered a remarkable address on the state of nation. I take this opportunity to acknowledge and thank His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda for fulfilling his constitutional obligation as enshrined in Article 101, Sub-Article 1 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. Today, we are once again immensely gratified to host His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, who is here to deliver the budget speech for financial year 2025-2026 in fulfillment of his constitutional obligation under Article 155, Sub-Article 1 of the 1995 Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, which states that the President shall cause to be prepared and laid before Parliament in each financial year, but in any case not later than 15th day before the commencement of the financial year, the estimates of revenue and expenditure of government for the next financial year. Honorable members, today's budget speech is a culmination of the participatory budget process, which involves various stakeholders as guided by the 1995 Constitution, the Public Finance Management Act 2015, the National Audit Act 2008, the National Audit Act, the Local Government Act 1997. This participatory budget process is an avenue of the citizen involvement in policy decisions, resource prioritization and allocation, and the monitoring of the public expenditure. As a people-centered parliament, we commend the various stakeholders for making their input in the national budget, and we urge them to sustain the civic awareness and responsibility during the actual budget execution and accountability as well. Your Excellency, the Parliament of Uganda is cognizant of the people participation as a cornerstone for deepening democracy, which is a standing governance principle for our beloved nation. Your Excellency and honorable members, allow me to highlight some of the key milestones achieved by legislature during the budget consideration process. Pursuant to Section 9, 5, and 8 of the Public Finance Management Act 2015, and Rule 145 of the Rules of Procedure, the House approved the National Budget Framework Paper 2025-2026, 2029-2030 on the 30th day of January 2025. 2. Pursuant to Section 12 of the Public Finance Management Act 2015 and Rule 152 of Rules of Procedure, Parliament approved the Ministerial Policy Statement for financial year 2025-2026 during the period of 9th to 16th April 2025. Pursuant to Section 8 of the Public Finance Management Act 2015 and Rule 157 of the Rules of Procedure, Parliament passed 7 tax and revenue bills on 13th and 14th May to enable the realization of revenue to finance the national budget for financial year 2025-2026. In furtherance to Section 14 of the Public Finance Management Act 2015 and Rule 158 and Rule 159 of the Rules of Parliament, Parliament approved the national budget for the financial year 2025-2026 on 15th day of May 2025. Your Excellency, the efficiency and effectiveness of legislature is as a result of constructive engagement between legislature, executive and judiciary, as well as the relevant stakeholders. I take this opportunity to greatly appreciate all the honorable members of Parliament, the front bench, the shadow cabinet, and all the stakeholders for their dedication throughout the budgeting process and ensuring that we do not only meet the legal and constitutional timeline, but also adequately interrogate the budget. Your Excellency, without preempting your speech on this day, I would like to highlight the salient issues that arose during the budget consideration process. 1, the need to strengthen the oversight over wealth creation funds, notably the parish development model, the youth livelihood, UWEP, SAGE, so that the funds actually reach their intended beneficiaries and attain the desired impact. 2, to strengthen the implementation and oversight of high-impact projects under the NDP4 so that the intended objectives are achieved. These high-impact projects are what we previously referred to in NDP3 as the core projects. 3, to strengthen the commitment control in budget execution by compelling the accounting officers to commit to the actual budgets and work plans as approved. This is important for budget discipline. 4, the minimization of supplementary budgets and the need to adherence to Section 25(7) of the Public Finance Management Act 2015 to limit supplementary budget requests to items that are absorbable, unavoidable, and unforeseeable. 5, the need to adequately plan and resource efficiency management measures to address the prevailing debt burden. The need to increase public investment in productive growth areas such as a MEOGA, parish development model, the 4-acre prosperity model, and deepen the financial inclusion and aid the growth of taxable formal sector so as to widen the tax base and improve on the tax to GDP ratio. Your Excellency, in the spirit of fostering regional integration, Parliament is cognizant of the need for deliberate reforms in customs and migrations. These requirements and procedures are in order to eliminate the non-tariff barriers and ease the movement of people, goods, and services across the East African community. The need for deliberate intervention to enhance the human capital development as a way of strengthening the competitiveness of Ugandan population. Your Excellency and members, as we embark on financial year 2025-2026, I call upon the accounting officers to ensure the prudent, efficient, and effective utilization of public resources, and that is pursuant to Section 21 and 45 of the Public Finance Management Act 2015. Your Excellency and honorable members, Article 83, Sub-Article 2A of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda permits members of Parliament to leave and join political parties or political organizations of their choice within 12 months before the end of term of Parliament in order to participate in activities or programs for political parties or political organizations relating to the general elections. I am in receipt of notification from the following members of Parliament who have left the Forum for Democratic Change, FDC, and opted to join the People Front for Freedom, PFF. Honorable Semuju Ibrahim, MP Kira Municipality. Honorable Kabusu Moses, MP Chamuswa County. Honorable Nakato Asinansi, the woman MP of Hoima City. Honorable Kamara Nicholas Tadeus, MP Kabale Municipality. Honorable Katshabe Atkins Godfrey, MP Bukonjo County West. Honorable Mohindo Harold Tony, MP Bukonjo County East. Honorable Namanya Naboth, MP Rubabo County. Honorable Muijiche Francis, MP Buhesh County. Honorable Awol Betty Ochan, Gulu City Woman Member of Parliament. We extend our best wishes to the members as they exercise their freedom of association as enshrined in Article 29 of the 1995 Constitution that we sought to uphold. Your Excellency, the President, and honorable members, and distinguished guests, I say all this for God and my country.
Item number 5, presentation of the budget speech by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda.
Honorable members, I have been duly notified that the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development will deliver the budget speech on behalf of His Excellency the President, and thereafter the President will also give his remarks, additional remarks to what has been delivered. I now want to invite the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development to deliver the budget speech. Honorable Minister.
Your Excellency, the President of Uganda, Your Excellency the Vice President, Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, Your Lordship the Chief Justice, Right Honorable Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Your Lordship the Deputy Chief Justice, the Vice Chairman of the NRM Party, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, Right Honorable Deputy Prime Ministers, Honorable Ministers, Your Excellencies and the Ambassadors and the heads of diplomatic missions, Honorable Members of Parliament, former national leaders, cultural leaders, religious leaders, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Madam Speaker, in fulfillment of Article 155 Part 1 of the Constitution, and on behalf of His Excellency the President, I present to Parliament and the people of Uganda the budget for financial year 2025-26 as approved by Parliament. Madam Speaker, in this speech, I will, 1, provide accountability to the people of Uganda on the performance of the commitments made by the NRM government for the first half of the Uganda Vision 2040. 2, present the recent performance of the economy and outlook. 3, account to the people of Uganda on the commitments that government made for financial 24-25 that is coming to an end in a few days, and the private areas of the budget for financial 25-26. 4, highlight the financing strategy of the financial 25-26 budget. Now, accountability of the performance of the commitments made by the NRM government for the first half of Uganda Vision 2040. Madam Speaker, let me first congratulate His Excellency the President on his leadership that has built a resilient, stable, transformative and competitive economy that is attractive to investors. Obugaro. Uganda is among the fastest growing economies in the world and is projected to become the fastest growing by 2031 according to the Harvard Growth Club. This is despite the various domestic, regional and global shocks that have impacted us in the recent years. The growth is on account of a unique economic ideology championed by His Excellency the President, which is built on the 4 principles of socio-economic transformation, patriotism, Pan-Africanism, and democracy. Madam Speaker, the first half of Uganda Vision 2024 started in 2010 with the implementation of the first 5-year National Development Plan and thereafter NDP 2 and NDP 3, which ends this financial year. The initial years of the NRM government before 2010, we dedicated to restoring sustainable peace, recovering and stabilizing a broken economy, addressing extreme poverty, and implementing reforms that liberalized the economy and created an environment for private sector to flourish. We are now in the phase of socio-economic transformation to facilitate wealth creation and prosperity. Your Excellency, I thank and commend you for this. Madam Speaker, the budget for financial year 2025-26 will conclude the implementation of the current NRM manifesto and start the implementation of the 4th National Development Plan. For the next 15 years, the successive national development plans will implement the 10-fold economic growth strategy. This strategy aims to expand the size of the economy to US dollars 500 billion by 2040 from US dollars 61.3 billion estimated this financial year 24-25. Madam Speaker, over the accountability period, government has undertaken targeted investments that have built a firm foundation and strengthened the resilience of our economy. I wish to highlight the following achievements. 1. Total peace, security of person and property, political stability have been the foundation upon which sustained high economic growth and wealth creation to be built. 2. The economy more than tripled to shillings 226.3 trillion Uganda shillings, equivalent to US dollars 61.3 billion this financial year 24-25, from shillings 64.8 trillion, equivalent to US dollars 27.9 billion in financial 2010-2011. In March 2024, Uganda met the criteria for graduation from the category of least development countries. Let me repeat this. In March 2024, Uganda met the criteria for graduation from the category of least developed countries. 4. Life expectancy has improved to 68.2 years in financial year 23-24 from 63.3 years in 2010-11 and from 50.4 years in 2002. This has been partly driven by improvements in access to health services, massive immunization campaigns that reduce disease prevalence and child mortality. 5. The population living within a 5-kilometer radius of a health facility is now 91% from about 8% in financial year 2010-2011. And 81% of parishes now have government-aided schools. 6. Poverty has decreased by 16.1% in financial year 2020-23-24 from 24.5% in financial year 2010-2011. In addition, Madam Speaker, persons in the subsistence economy reduced to 33% in financial year 23-24 from 69% in financial year 2010-2011. Madam Speaker, Uganda is becoming a more equal society. The results of the National Household Survey released by the Uganda Bureau of Statistics last month show that income inequality has declined significantly in the past 4 years. The Gini coefficient, which is a statistical measure used to determine the extent of income inequality within a population, has reduced to 36% from 41% in 2020. 8. Madam Speaker, Ugandans can now connect to all borders on tarmac and reach all parts of the country, east, west, south, north, by tarmac or improved murram roads. 9. Installed electricity generation capacity increased fourfold to 2,051 megawatts in financial year 23-24 from 595 megawatts in financial year 2010-2011. Consequently, the proportion of the population with access to electricity increased fivefold to 57% in financial year 23-24 from 11% in financial year 2011. The percentage of the population subscribed to the internet rose to 53% in 2022 from 1.8% in 2010, and the national ICT backbone infrastructure extended to 4,300 kilometers in financial year 22-23 from 1,380 kilometers in financial year 2010-2011. The economy has diversified from the traditional 3 C's, which are coffee, cotton, copper, and 3 T's, which are tobacco, tea, and tourism, to a more sophisticated economy. For example, Uganda has added 31 new products to its export basket in the last 15 years, including light manufactured products such as steel, processed food, cement, pharmaceuticals, dairy products, ceramics, and clothes. The number of manufacturing units, factories of various sizes, has increased by about 18,000 from 31,757 in 2010-2011 to 50,000 in financial year 2023-24. As a result, this has increased the share of manufactured exports significantly. Madam Speaker, Uganda's economy has been able to achieve all these milestones on account of the right strategy of the NRM government. Let me repeat. Madam Speaker, Uganda's economy has been able to achieve all these milestones on account of the right strategy of the NRM government. Madam Speaker, since the necessary foundation has already been established by intentionally prioritizing investments in infrastructure, the speed of economic transformation is destined to be faster in the medium term. Madam Speaker, the budget for next financial year and over the medium term is focused on people and wealth creation. Consequently, the theme of the next financial year 25-26 remains full monetization of Uganda's economy through commercial agriculture, industrialization, expanding and broadening services, and digital transformation and market access. Recent economic performance and outlook. Madam Speaker, our economy has strengthened its resilience to domestic and external shocks and is estimated to grow by 6.3% this financial year 24-25. This is after recording growth of 8.6% in the third quarter of this financial year. Last financial year 23-24, the economy grew by 6.1%. In nominal terms, the size of the economy is estimated at shillings 226.3 trillion, equivalent to US dollars 61.3 billion in financial year 24-25, rising from shillings 203.7 trillion, equivalent to US dollars 53.9 billion in financial year 23-24. This is equivalent to US dollars 174.2 billion in purchasing power parity terms. My economists will tell you what that means. 12. Madam Speaker, this growth has broad-based, including this growth was broad-based, including in agriculture, industry, and services like ICT. This was on account of continued implementation of government interventions and sound fiscal and monetary policies that have supported private sector investment. Madam Speaker, the impressive economic performance has been driven by His Excellency the President's commitment and deliberate investment in wealth creation initiatives. I thank His Excellency the President for setting the tone and for providing leadership and direction. Madam Speaker, government has invested over shillings 9 trillion in key wealth creation initiatives over the last 10 years. These include Uganda Development Bank, 4.45 trillion, the Parish Development Model, shillings 3.3 trillion by end of financial year 24-25, Emioga, shillings 553 billion, the Youth Livelihood Program, shillings 207.95 billion, the Small Business Recovery Fund, shillings 100 billion, the Agricultural Credit Facility, shillings 495 billion, the Youth Venture Capital Fund, shillings 12.5 billion, Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program, shillings 168 billion, the Invite Project, shillings 800 billion, the Grow Project, shillings 824 billion, and Uganda Development Corporation 1.2 trillion, among others. Madam Speaker, the economy is expected to grow faster by at least 7% next financial year 25-26, and to double digits at the onset of oil and gas production. The size of the economy is projected to expand to shillings 254.2 trillion, equivalent to US dollars 66.1 billion in financial year 25-26. This will translate into a higher GDP per capita of US dollars 1,000. Let me repeat this. This will translate into a higher GDP per capita of US dollars 1,324 next financial year compared to US dollars 1,263 GDP estimated for this financial year ending the 30th June this year. Inflation. Madam Speaker, inflation is under control. For the year ending May 2025, the speed at which prices of goods and services rose slowed to 3.4% compared to 4.1% in the same period of the year ago. The slower pace of the increase in domestic prices was due to good export performance and FDI inflows, which led to a stable shilling, increased food production driven by good weather and the parish development model, and the close coordination of the fiscal and monetary policies. In addition, a reduction in the global prices of petroleum products also contributed to the lower prices. the country has been able to benefit from these lower global prices because of the direct importation of petroleum products by the Uganda National Oil Company, UNOC, which removed middlemen in the petroleum supply chain. Therefore, inflation is expected to remain below the policy target of 5% per annum. Now, exchange rates. Madam Speaker, despite global uncertainties, the Uganda shilling has been among the few most stable currencies in Africa. Can I repeat? Madam Speaker, despite global uncertainties, the Uganda shilling has been among the few most stable currencies in Africa. The shilling appreciated by 4% year on year in April 2025 compared to the same month in 2024. Uganda's shilling has been ranked the most stable currency in Africa according to the International Financial Statistics Division of the IMF. This resilience is due to good export performance, strong inflows of foreign direct investment, and tourism receipts. Now, interest rates. Madam Speaker, the price of money has reduced to an average of 17.7% per year in March 2025 from 18.1% in November 2024. This decline was partly driven by a slight reduction in the Bank of Uganda's reference interest rate and increased lending at lower interest rates to lower risk borrowers. Private sector credit. Madam Speaker, the stock of private sector credit grew to shillings 23.3 trillion in March 2025 from shillings 21.9 trillion in June 2024. This represents growth of 6%. Although this is low, it is expected to increase as private sector activity and household demand continues to recover. Madam Speaker, contrary to conventional economics that government borrowing crowds out private sector credit, Uganda's government borrowing has instead availed cheaper and patient capital to the private sector engaged in wealth creation initiatives. Government borrows from commercial banks at relatively high rates and avails financing to the private sector in strategic sectors at relatively low or no interest rates. Government has provided direct credit to the private sector and household to supplement credit from commercial banks and other financial institutions through PDM, Emyoga, Youth and Women Livelihood Funds, Women Enterprise Support Funds totaling shillings 9.1 trillion, which is equivalent to 3.6% of total domestic economic output in financial 24-25. External sector development. Madam Speaker, total exports of goods and services for the 12 months of March 2025 is US dollars 11.8 billion from US dollars 9.56 billion for the same period in year 2024. Of this, exports of goods were US dollars 9.3 billion for the same period, up from 7.3 billion in March 2024, representing growth of 26%. The top exports include gold, US dollar 3.698 billion, coffee, US dollars 1.83 billion, which alone had an annual average growth of 84.9%. Industrial products, $626.5 million. Cocoa beans, $410.8 million. Milk products, $285 million. Base metals and products, $230.6 million. Sugar, $186.5 million. Fish and fish products, $107.7 million. Maize, $86.37 million. And other agricultural products like tea, tobacco, cotton, beans, fruits, vegetables, flowers, simsim, sesame, nuts, vanilla, and other grains, giving $575.9 million. Madam Speaker, this financial year, for the first time in the history of Uganda, coffee exports earnings not only exceeded the $1 billion mark, but are on track to double to $2 billion per year. Why it took the country more than a century to reach $1 billion earnings per annum from coffee, it has taken just 1 year to double these earnings. This is an example of the kind of economic leap envisioned under the tenfold growth